Daf Yud Zayin Amud Aleph, 3 lines from the top, Gufa. We discussed earlier the Chagai and Novi, the pasuk in Chagai and Novi, when Bnei Yisrael, Kol Yisrael, oil from Bold came to Eretz Yisrael. Chagai and Novi tested the Kohanim. He tested the Kohanim in the Hilchos Tumah V'Tara. And we have a machlokes Rav and Shmuel if the Kohanim answered correctly, if they passed the test, or not, or they didn't. So what was the pasuk? The pasuk says, "Hein yisa ish b'sar hakodesh b'chnav b'gdai v'naga b'chnav v'lalechem v'lanozer v'layayin v'lashemen v'kol machal. Hayikdash will become tomei v'yamru kain v'yamru loy," and they said it will not be. Now, so the way the Rav, as we'll see in a moment, the way he learns the sequence in this pasuk is, "Hein yisa ish b'sar hakodesh b'chnav b'gdai." If a person has a sheretz in the corner of his beged, and the sheretz touches the naga b'chnaf el alechem. The sheretz, which is in the corner of the bag, it touches bread. So the sheretz is an av, the bread is a rishon, v'la nozid, the nozid is a sheni, v'la yain, it's a shlishi, v'la shemen, and to the shemen. So according to Rav, that was the question he asked: is the shemen, is the oil going to be tomei ator? They said no. And according to Rav, he made a mistake. So let's see the Gemara inside. Gufa, Rav Amar Ishtabish Kahani, the Kahana made a mistake. Or Shmuel Amar Lo Ishtabish Kahani. And Shmuel says they did not. Rav Amar Ishtabish Kahani Ravi B'Kaish V'Amina. He asked him a question: is there a Ravi B'Kaish? By Tuma, the levels of Tuma, by Chulin, it goes to a Sheni. An Av touches a Rishon, an Av touches something, it becomes a Rishon. The Rishon touches something else, becomes a Sheni, but not further. By Truma, it goes to a level of the Shlish. What about by Kaidish? Is there Ravi? They said no, and they made a mistake. So Ravi b'Kaidish boy minay v'ramalei tor. So they made a mistake. So that is the sequence according to Rav, that it was a Ravi, and they made a mistake. Shmuel Amar Leishtabish Kahani. Shmuel says they did not make a mistake. Chamishi b'Kaidish boy minay. The Shiloh was a Chamishi b'Kaidish. As does it reach a level of Chamishi? V'amarlei Tor, and they said it's Tor, which is correct. There's no Chamishi b'Kaidish. So Bishlam Rav Hainu Dechsiv Arba, we understand how where there's 4, and at the Shiloh was a Ravi because this is Lechem and Nozev Yain V'Shemen. So there's 4 items that are mentioned. But El Shmuel Chamishi Minalei. But according to Shmuel, where do you get 5? Where do you see over here a 5th level? So Shmuel Chamishim Inoleim. So the Gemara says no. Miksi v'naga kanafai. The pasuk doesn't say it touches the kanaf. V'naga bichnafik siv. B'ma shenaga bichnafai. It means with what it was touched in the kanaf. B'ma shenaga bichnafai. That means that the bread in question over here touched not the sheretz. The sheretz is an avatuma. It touched something that was in the knaf. It doesn't say v'naga knafe. It says bichnafai. It says that it touched something that was in the corner of the garment, and therefore it means that he touched the item which touched the sheretz. So the sheretz is enough. The item that it touched is irishin. And then it goes down the list, so now you come to a chamishi. Tashma. Let's bring a kasha to Rav from the following. Tashma. Then another pasuk, a second question that Chagai asks. He asks him another question. He says, if someone who was tomei b'nefesh, a person that came into contact with a mess, if he touches all of these items, the items that are listed in the pasuk, the lechem, the yain, the shemen, what will be the din? Hayitma, will it become tomei? Ve'yan, or kain ve'yamer yitma? And they answered, and he said, yes, in this case it'll be tomei. Now, Bishlam l'Shmuel ben Hacha lo yishtabish, Hasam nami lo yishtabish. According to Shmuel, it's good, we understand it. Now, in this case over here, well, if the tomei maze touches the sequence of items, so over here, will the person become tomei? And v'yanu kana v'yamru yitma. Now, if the tomei maze touches all of these items, then he is the Tomei Mace is an Av. He touches these sequence of items, so he makes now he touches a lechem is a rishon, the nozid is a sheni, the yain is a shlishi, the shemen is a revi. And then the question over here is there a revi b'kodesh, and will he become tomei? And they said yes, he will be tomei. So you see that they did know the halacha of revi b'kodesh. So therefore, we understand that in this they answered correctly, and in the previous case we also will assume they answered correctly. So therefore, we say in both cases, lo yishtabish, they didn't make a mistake. But according to Rav, well, in this case, they answered correctly. Now, in the previous case, according to Rav, they did not. So what's the difference? Why over here they understood that it was a Revi B'Kodesh, and they said there was Tomei. And in the previous case, you're saying they were not aware of a Revi B'Kodesh, and they said that it was Torah. Why would I say such a thing? Why would I say that here they answered correctly and there they didn't? Omer of Nachman Ravu Bekimin Betumas Meiz and Bekinim Betumas Sheretz. He said they were baki in a Tumas Meiz, but they were not Bekim Betumas Sheretz. They knew in a Tumas Meiz, they know that Tumah that came from a Meiz reaches a Revi B'Kodesh. But they weren't aware that a Tumah that originated where the source is a Sheretz also will lead to a Revi B'Kodesh. They weren't aware that even if the source of Tumah is not a Meiz, is a Sheretz, it also leads to a Revi B'Kodesh. Ravino Omar, he says a different answer. He says, no, they're different questions. He says over there, Ravino Hasim Revi. When in the case of the Sheretz, it was Revi. And they were not aware that there's a Revi B'Kodesh, so they made a mistake. They weren't aware, and they said Tahor, when in fact it was Tomei. But Hacha Shlishi, here in the case that we're talking about, it's a Shlishi. It's not a Revi. The question wasn't a Revi, it's a Shlishi. And on this, they answered Tomei, which is the correct, meaning they were aware, they were familiar with the Lacha, that there's a Shlishi B'Kodesh, but not with Revi. How is this a Shlishi over here? How does this come to be a Shlishi? Because we say over there that here it's a Shlishi because when we say the Tomei Mace, we don't mean to say that it was with a person who became Tomei by touching a mace. It means the mess itself. So therefore, the sequence in the pasuk is as follows: the Tomei, the mace itself, which is the Aviyah by Satuma, touched the lechem. So the lechem becomes an ab. Then the lechem, it touched the nizid. The nizid becomes a rishon. The yayin, it touched the yayin, which becomes a sheni. And then that touched the shemen, which is a shlishi. So in that case, they asked him, is it Tomei? He said yes. They knew the halacha of a shlishi, but not a revi. But it comes out to be over here, and there's an interesting side halacha over here. We're saying that the lechem touched the mess. The mess is an aviyah v'esatuma, and the lechem is an av. We know that oichlim don't become an avatuma. So how can we say that that's the case over here? Taisus explains that when we say that a food does not become an avatuma, that's only insofar as that an avatuma can be metama adam v'kelim. A rishon cannot be metama adam v'kelim. A food cannot be an avatuma insofar as that even if the food touched the mess, it cannot be matama adam v'kelim. We don't give it a din of a full-fledged av to be matama adam v'kelim to if it comes into contact with a person or a kelim, that's matama then. Only a full-fledged av can do that. But however, as far as the levels of tuma to count from an av to a rishon to a sheni, if the lechem, if the food touched the mess, the level of tuma is an avatuma, and what it touches will become a rishon l'tumah. Tashma, let's bring a right from the following. Chaya answered that so is these people. This is so is the nation over here. So the people, so the nation, and so is what they do. Their ma'aseh yadayim, their handiwork, and this is what they're makriv. This is what they bring, and it's tomei. This is what, according to this answer, it says this is the status of the nation. So now, Bishlam al-Rab, well, we understand that it says that this is the nation, and this is what they bring, and it's Tomei. But Shmuel, my Tomei. But according to Shmuel, why is it called Tomei? Meaning, according to Rav, they made a mistake, so they answered it correctly. So it's the way the Ramchal explains. So therefore, they didn't know the halachas, and therefore, what they bring and what they are is Tomei. But according to Shmuel, they answered correctly. So why does it say that this is the status of the people, and this is what they are, and it's Tomei? So Shmuel, am I Tomei? So when I answered it, Tmui kamat Tomei. He said, it's like a wonder. Are they Tomei? Since they know the halachas, and they know the halachas of Tumatara, is what they bring, what their makir, is it Tomei? Why should we consider it Tomei? More, what do you mean? It says, and so is all their handiwork, and it is Tomei, which means a lot that it's saying it is Tomei. What it means to say is, it's not referring to their current status. What it means to say is, it's referring to the future. Since they were makalkal their actions, since they were makalkal their maisim, it's as if they brought a betuma. Since they did averis, and they will do averis, and there's a nevuah that they will do averis, it's as if what their makriv is betuma, but not mamish that since they answered, didn't know the halachas of tumatar, what their makriv is tomei. They knew the halachas according to Shmuel, but it's saying that they're mekalkel, they're maisim, and whatever they bring, since they're a corrupt nation, or there will be a corrupt nation, therefore whatever they bring is considered to be betuma. Gufa. So we discussed before about the edus of Yosef ben Yoezer, that he said the mashka beis mitchaya, that it's doch and it's tohur. Gufa Rav Tani mashka beis mitbechaya. Rav learned that what he's referring to is the mashkim of the mitbechaya, of the butchering places. What are the mashka, the liquids in the butchering places? It's the mashka in the beis mitbechaya is dam and mayim, blood and water. V'levi Tani mashka beis mitbechaya. But he learned it's the mashkim that are brought on the mizbeach. That mashkim that brought on the mizbeach are dam and mayim, but also yain and shemen for the nesachim and for the menachos. So now, Levi, according to Levi, that says mashkim be midbechaya, which means also oil and wine. Well, that's fine if he holds like Shmuel, who holds that the edus that Yosef ben Yoezer gave, whether it's Torah, that these liquids are Torah. What does it mean? It means that they're not matama other things. It does not transmit the tumah further. Aval tumas atzman yeshlam, but they themselves are susceptible to tumah. They can be makabel tumah themselves. So mishkachas lo. So therefore, now you can understand the pasuk in Chagai. Now we have to, according to this edus of Yosef ben Yoezer, reinterpret the pasuk in Chagai, because in any event, the liquids will not be able to transmit tumah one to the other. So therefore, we'd have to say mishkachas lo nage kula barishan. What it means is that not the way we previously understood the pasuk, that the Tomai touches the lechem, which touches the nizid, which touches the shemen, and it's a question of will they be a revi or a chamishi, will that be Tomei? No, we have to say that everything, the source of Tumah, touched each one of them. And the question is, are they Tomei? Now, according to if Shmuel, if the Levi holds like Shmuel, then they themselves have Tumah. Then they could be Mekabel Tumah, even though they can't transmit the Tumah. So the question is, we will say that the Mishkach Zanagah Kula Barishan, all of these items touch the Rishon and they are Tomei. They don't transmit it to the others, but they are Tomei. Then the question is, are all of these items Tomei? And the answer would be yes. But if you hold like Rav, that not only is it that they do not transmit Tumah, but when he's mizmeya, that it's the mashkim are dochin, which means they are not even makabel Tumah. How can you find the case that the oil will be tomei? It's mashka be midbechaya, and therefore oil, which is on the mizbeach, is not Mekabel Tuma. Or answers Al Korcha Kishmuel Svirla, you must say that he holds like Shmuel. Frankly, more Shmuel, who says, according to Shmuel, says that the Kohanim did not make a mistake when Haggai asked them the first question. They did not make a mistake. They were correct. Well, Hanicha Israel Kerab, that's fine if you hold like Rav, the Tanam Mashke Beis Mitbechai. That learns that it's Mashke Beis Mitbechaya, which refers to blood and water. That's Tor. Ava Mashke Beis Mitbechaya, but the Mashke of the Mitbechaya, of the Mizbeach, the Mashke of the Mizbeach, meaning the oil and the wine, that over there could become Tomei, and it could transmit Tumah. So Ravi Yehuda of it, Chamishi. It means Ravi that it does not make a Chamishi. Ha-shlishi of Ravi. So according to Shmuel, the question was, he asked them, is a Chamishi Tor and Tomei? They said it's Tor, and there's correct. So it's only a Chamishi, a Ravi, it does not make a Chamishi, but a Shlishi makes a Ravi. So he asked them a question specifically about a Chamishi, and they answered correctly that it was Tor. But like a Levi, the Tana Mashkebe Midbachaya, but if you learn like Levi, who learns that a Mashkebe Midbachaya, that the Mashkem of the Mizbeach, are tahor, meaning even Shemin is tahor. So my Ravi Dulav Chamishi. Why is the question about a Chamishi? Afilu Shenu Shlishi Nami Loyavda. If you learn Mashka Be Midbachai, it does not transmit the Tumah further. So why you're asking me a question about Chamishi? You can't even make a Sheni. You can't even make a Shlishi. Al Korcha Kiras Svirli, it must be that he holds like Rav, that when the Eidos is that it was Tohor, that it was referring to not the oil and not the oil and the yain and the shemen, it's referring to Davka, Mashka, Be, Mitbachaya, the water and the blood. But in the Chanami, these Mashkim, the yain and the shemen could become Tomei, and therefore the question was, in this case, where you have the sequence of the Lechem and the Nozid, and the yayin and the shemen, the question was about a chamishi, and on that they said it's tar. But in Chanami, if it would have been a shlishi, it could become a shlishi, it could become a sheni, a shlishi, and v, and it could become tomei, and that he didn't ask. Tanya Kavase de Rav, Tanya Kavase de Levi. We have Brisa that supports both Rav and Levi, and both whether it's mashbeis mitbechaya or mitbechaya. Tanya Kavase de Levi, Raya to Levi. We learned Hadam, Vahayayin, Vashem, Vamayim. All of these liquid mashka be midbechaya, the liquids that are put onto the mizbeah, shenitmu bifnim, if they became tomei bifnim in the azor, voisim lachutz, and they too was taken outside to harden. They're tor, because this is the kula that the Rabbana made, that mashka be, now here we see mashka clearly, mashka be midbechaya, are tor. So if they became tomei inside the base of mikdash, they're tor, and even if they're taken outside. Nitm b'chutz, however, if they became tomei outside, v'echnisim b'fnim, and they were brought inside to me, then they're tomei. So you see clearly over here that it's mashke bei mitvachai. Now the Gemara asks a side kasha on this halach itself about being tomei. How is that so if you're saying that it was tomei inside and taken outside, it's tor? I'm Amar Shuben Levi, mashke bei midvachaya, lo yamra dochen ela b'mekayman. It's only tor in its place. My love, the mutenitm b'fnim v'yitzin lachutz. Doesn't this exclude that if it became tomei inside and it was taken outside, it does not remain tor? It's tomei. The Gemara says lo limutenitm b'chutz v'yachnisim b'fnim. No, it's to be mind the case where it became tomei outside and you brought it inside. Then, notwithstanding the fact you brought it inside, it became tomei outside, it's tomei. It says that it's tor in their place. Is that mashma that only if it remains in their place? What is it? No, they only said that it's tor if it became tomei in its place. But if it did become tomei, which inside the azora, even if it was taken outside, it remains tor. So here we see the brisa that supports Levi that it's mashka be midbechai. Something kavasi the Rav right to Rav hadam v'hamay, the blood and the water mashka base mitbechaya. So it says clearly base mitbechaya shenitmu. So we're talking about dam and mayim shenitmu. It became tomei bein bekelim bein bekarka tahor. Whether it's in the kalim or in karka, it's tor. They're considered tor. Rav Shimon Omer bekalim tmeim bekarka tor. Rav Shimon says no, it's only bekarka, but bekalim they're tmeim. So as far as what we're trying to bring a raya, you see over here clearly a raya to Rav that what we're referring to is mashka be mitbechaya, only the dam and the water. Now what is this machlokes over here? Now what is this halacha? What is this case that we're talking about here? The machlokes is whether it's bekalim or bekarka. So if it's bekalim or bekarka, it's Torah. It's like we understood that the mashke, that the tumas of the mashke is a derabbanan, and the rabbanan were mekel, and the Beis Hamikdash they were mekel to say it's Torah, and that's the Enos of Yosef ben Yezer. But Rav Shimon, what's Rav Shimon saying? He says no, it's only bekalim. Only bekarka rather that it's tahor, and bekalim it's tameim. It's only in the karka that it's tahor. What is Rav Shimon saying? Rav Shimon is lishit also that he holds that the mashke, the tum of mashke, is a deraisa. So you can't be mekel in the Beis Hamikdash. So therefore, it's not possible to be mekel. So where were they mekel? It can't be bekalim because once it's kalim, it's makabel tum. Where were they mekel? They were mekel as far as the din of a mikveh. It's bekarka. If it's in the karka, it has the din of a mikveh. It has the din of a mikveh. It's not makabel tum. A mikveh is not makabel tum. Now, what is a mikveh? What's the shear of a mikveh? So a mikveh has to be in the karka. But a mikveh, now, midaraisa, even if there's a revias, it can be a mikveh to be matar, to be matar kalim, small kalim. A small kalim that can be immersed in, even in a revias, if it's in the karka, would have a din of a mikveh. The Rabbanan said, no, you need our boim saw, not only for an odom, not only for a person, you need our boim saw, even for kalim, even for small kalim. So, midrabanan, even in the karka, then if it's not a shear of our boim saw and it came into contact with the tumah, it would become tumah. The Beis Hamikdash, the Rabbanan were mekel, and they said that bekarka, even if it's not our boim saw, even if it's only revias, it's tahar. This din the Rabbanan that they were machmir, they were not machmir, they were not geyser in the Beis Hamikdash.